Alrighty, so I'd like to thank you for doing my interview. I'm excited to have you on my podcast. For the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah, okay. My name is Raji Ahsan. I am an actor and a teacher and a writer. I'm based in Los Angeles. I used to be in New York City. I was in New York City for 10 years. I'm from Los Angeles. I went to New York City to train at NYU Tisch, graduated in 2013, stayed there for 7 years, focused mostly on theater. And then in 2020, when, excuse me, when the COVID hit in 2020, I decided to come home and I wanted to focus more on television more than anything else. And so I came home to LA and have been doing mostly television for the past 3 years. Now I'm understudying on the national tour of the Kite Runner, and it's the experience of it is D all of the above. And it's a company of incredible human beings, and I'm so grateful to be a part of them.
That's awesome. And so, as you said, you're currently in the Kite Runner. For those who don't know, can you please explain a little bit about what the Kite Runner is about?
Yes, I'm happy to. The Kite Runner, the National Tour of the Kite Runner, is the Broadway production of it that was on Broadway in 2022, which came from the West End. It had two runs in the West End, and it had a UK tour as well. It's now on a UK tour again, I think. You may want to check my information, but it's a play. It's an adaptation of the book, The Kite Runner, which was written by, I believe it's pronounced Khaled. I totally should have looked this up before I said this. Khaled Hosseini, I think is how you say his name. But it's the story of a man who goes who tries to right a wrong in his life, and he discovers that there is a way to be good again, and so he embarks upon the journey to become good again.
That's amazing. And so, what was the audition process like for the Kite Runner?
The audition process. Okay, so since the COVID, most everything is self-tape now. Most everything. Commercial auditions in Los Angeles are not self-tape. I haven't been in New York in years, and so I'm understanding that some auditions for plays are in person. I think most of them are now. Again, check my information. But for me, I in LA, I auditioned over tape. And for the past 3 years of being back in Los Angeles, I've told my New York representatives that I'm not interested in doing regional theater anymore. I did 3 years of regional theater, and I feel this might sound kind of rude, but I feel like I've paid my dues in regional theater, and I'm really only interested in doing theater in Los Angeles or in New York. Um, any kind of theater in New York. I just want to be working in New York City and only New York City. And so, any time in the past 3 years that I would get an audition for a play or an offer for a play, I typically said no. I thank you very much, thank them very, very much, but I'm right now my focus is screen in Los Angeles. And then the Kite Runner came up, and my agent sent me an email, and he said, "You want to say no to this, right?" That's literally, he was just like, "You want to say no, right?" And I said, "Well, it's the Kite Runner. It's such an incredible piece of work." Um, and I said, "Give me a second. Let me think about it." I had just auditioned for a Broadway play, and that audition didn't go the way that I wanted it to. That was also tape. Tape for theater is really hard. Like, because theater is about, I'm sure you know this, theater is about a live exchange of energy, not the exchange of energy through the lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the I auditioned for a Broadway play like a month before. It didn't go the way that I wanted. And then the Kite Runner came about, and I thought, you know what? Clearly I really wanted to work in the theater again because I got so disappointed when I didn't get that play. And so I thought, you know what? I'll audition for this. I auditioned over tape. Um, and it was a great audition. I knew it was a great audition. You know when you hit it. You know when you're in the pocket of it. And then I didn't hear anything. That was in November, and I didn't hear anything until January. And the second day of January, right after the new year, my agent Danny, hi Danny, love Danny. He's not going to watch this. He might. Just kidding. You have a huge audience. I'm sure you have a huge audience. Um, Danny called and he said, "Do you want to go in for the cover in the national tour of Harry Potter?" And I said, I don't know if I want to cover for 12 months. I don't know if I want to do that, because I'd be giving up television for 12 months in LA at least. And he said, yeah, I understand. And then I said, did anything happen to come with a Kite Runner? And he said to me on the phone, he goes, oh, Raji, they cast that already. And I got so sad, Timothy. I got so, so sad. You go by Timothy, right?
Yeah,
Timothy, not Tim or Tim. Okay, right.
yeah.
Timothy. I got so sad. And then I put the phone down and I walked into the kitchen of my friend's house where I was staying right after the New Year. And she was like, what's wrong with you? You look so sad. I said, I just found out I don't think I got the Kite Runner and I really, really wanted it. And then 2 weeks later, casting reached out and they said, would Raji be interested in being an offstage cover? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that because it's something I'd never done before. And the reason I said no to the Harry Potter cover audition, I didn't have an offer, but the audition was because I didn't want to do it for 12 months. And this contract was only 4 months. And it's playing Chicago and Washington, D.C., two cities I really want to visit. And so I thought, great, yeah, yeah. And then I had another audition. Sorry, this is so long, Timothy. I
No,
had
no
an
worries.
I had another audition wherein it was two characters. It was the lead track, Amir, and the sort of like the villain in the story, although I don't really like to think of him as a villain, Asif. I read for both of those characters, sent in that tape. And then I got another audition which was Amir, Asif, and a character named Zaman, Kamal and Zaman. Kamal, one of the friends of Asif, who also plays Zaman, the orphanage owner in the second act. And that was a final callback over Zoom or EcoCast, really. 8 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, because casting was in New York and the creatives were in the UK. And so I got up at like 7 o'clock and I went for a walk around the complex where I live, warming up my voice, warming up my body, totally freaking out, just like totally freaking out. And then I got on the EcoCast and there were like, six little faces. And then I said, here we go. And I did the best that I could. I totally made a bunch of mistakes. All of my auditions, everything that I've ever booked, I always make a mistake. And so if people who are listening to this who want to do what we do, mistakes don't mean you're not going to get the job. They don't mean that at all. And it was great. That audition was great. And then the next morning, the aforementioned Danny called and he said, "You have an offer." And I was like, "Oh, great." Was
That's
that a long enough story for you? My gosh.
it's I've had longer, so
Oh, good.
yeah. But so you have met the author of the Kite Runner before.
Mm.
He's come to the show, correct?
Well, yes, he came to a preview in San Jose. I think, came to a matinee in San Jose, and I spoke to him for I think literally 2 seconds. Yeah, but in those 2 seconds, he seems like a lovely guy.
That's awesome. And so you said, I think you said this earlier, but what stops you most looking forward to on tour and why?
What am I most looking forward to on tour? Chicago, as I've never been to Chicago. Um, and I'm a huge Wicked fan. Huge, huge Wicked fan. And the the Chicago production of Wicked is really meaningful to like the entire theater community. And I think to be in that city where it played, one of my mentors played Elphaba in Chicago. And so sort of getting to share that space is really meaningful to me. And also the Kennedy Center. I think I just to be on a call board at the Kennedy Center is such an opportunity. I mean, it's such an opportunity that many actors don't get to experience. I'm overwhelmed by it, really.
That's amazing. And so throughout the show, it's around 2 hours and like 10 minutes, 30, 20 minutes, correct?
Including the intermission, 2 hours and a half, including the intermission.
So what is your favorite part? It might be hard, but what is your like favorite parts throughout the show?
Oh, great question. Um, can I give you a list? Is that okay? Or do you
Yeah.
have to pick one? All right, hang on. I love the opening. I love the opening, the staging of it, the musicality of it. Our movement supervisor is Kitty Winter. Our musical supervisor is Jonathan Gerling. Our director is Giles Croft, and our associate director is Damian Sands. These creatives have put together such a gorgeous opening. It's so satisfying to watch because of the space that is taken up. It's satisfying to hear. There are a lot of instruments, not a lot of, excuse me. There's one instrument in the show that mimics the sound of a kite. Um, and I love the way that Ramsey Khalif, our principal lead, does it. He really takes his time. He really takes his time. And it allows the room to sort of find him and move along with him. I love the opening. Um, I love the first scene with Asif because it's a major energy shift. You and it kind of catches you off guard. The the design of the end of the first act is incredible to me. It's at a bus station. And of course, we don't have buses on stage. You just see the headlights and sort of the smoke coming out of the exhaust pipes of the buses. And it's gorgeous to look at. And then I love the scene in the second act where Amir confronts his mistake when a trusted member of his past puts a mirror up in front of him and says, "This is what you did." And he resists and he resists and he resists. And then he finally allows himself to fall into what he did. Um, and that is such a human moment because I think every day we all face mirrors, all of us, and we go, "Oh God, that's what I did." You know, but there is grace to catch me on the other side of it if I choose to go and be good again, I think. So I love, and the end, I mean, the end is so incredibly hopeful. Um, there, I gave you 67 things I love. And you know what's so interesting in these kinds of interviews? People always say, we need a hopeful story now more than ever. But I completely disagree with that. I don't think we need it now more than ever. I think we just always need hopeful stories. Always need hopeful stories, you know? And so, great.
Yeah, for sure. And the Kite Runner, it's been out for a while now, so
The book?
yeah, I want to say it's been
Yeah.
out for a little while. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's been out for a while, and with the new tour, it's also like getting people back into the story,
Hmm.
uh, which I
I
think is
had
really good.
You may have seen this on social media, but I was checking in at an airport a couple of days ago, and the attendant who was helping me check my bag saw on my bag the Kite Runner tag, and he looked at me and he went, "No way!" And he said, "I loved it. I loved it. I loved it so much." He said, "I'm going to try to come and see it in Charlotte with my son. I want to bring my son." That was very meaningful.
That's amazing. Yeah, I saw it on your story, and it was amazing how he just recognized and how
Well, he
he.
couldn't miss it, Timothy, because it's bright orange. It's it's highlighter orange on my dark suitcase.
That's awesome. And so, what made you want to become an actor?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question so much because I just love to talk about it. I Love Lucy made me want to act when I was 11 or 12. Um, I think a lot of us performers, a lot of people really, we come from painful beginnings. Pain is sort of inescapable for all of us. And I found in I Love Lucy what I thought then was an incredible escape, but what I know now as an adult was not an escape, it's a container. It was an emotional for container for me to put all of the pain into and make sense of, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah,
And then I saw in Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball cor- uh, people I wanted to emulate in a way. Desi, I don't know how much you know about their story, but in 2021 during the 70th anniversary of I Love Lucy, so much went out into the culture. Being the Ricardos came out, Lucy and Jesse, the documentary directed by Amy Poehler, came out, the Ben Mankiewicz podcast, The Plot Thickens came out. There was so much Lucy Desi stuff out into the world at that time. And we all sort of know now what an incredible risk taker Desi was. And we all know what an incredible um, how seriously Lucille Ball took comedy. comedy for her and for any, I think, good performer or comedian or what have you is it's serious. It's a serious business. It's a very serious business. And I was arrested by their story when I was 12, arrested by it. I was so arrested by it when I was 12 that I wrote a letter to Paramount Studios, which was formerly the Desilumain lot, and asked for a tour. And they gave me a private tour. I was 12 and they walked me around the lot. And I mean, it's, I'm so incoherent right now, but it's that story that led me to where I am today, really.
That's amazing. And so, what advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
Are you 15, Timothy? Is that why you're asking?
I asked this question to everyone.
But are you 15, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
the
great.
the next question is actually advice to the younger students. So they both tie into
Yeah.
each other.
Well, let's think about Raji at 15. High school, Los Alamitos High School. 15, 16, 17, 18, 14. I was a sophomore. Um, and that was sort of at kind of the apex of a very intensely painful emotional time. I think high school is hard. I think high school is really, really hard. I think um, students are learning about power and social dynamics and status. And students learn very quickly that they can assert power by hurting others. And I was a 15-year-old who was deeply hurt. And so, were I to look at my 15-year-old self, which I do this often, actually, I talk to him a lot. I talk to the 17-year-old more than the 15-year-old, but I'd grab him, embrace him firmly, and say, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Raji. It's okay. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's okay to be upset. It's okay that you're different." Because all I wanted to do was listen to Wicked and watch I Love Lucy. That's it. I don't want to do anything else. And I would tell that 15-year-old kid that that's okay, that that's all you want to do. You know, if you don't get your homework done, it's not going to harm you when you're 33, And then for students, I'd say the same thing. But I also, what kind of students? Like a theater student?
For younger students who want to become actors or actresses.
Oh my. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I don't even know. I don't even know. I think so much of my past is plagued by the what feels like a lot of hardship, but there's also great beauty in the hardship and really intense, like Lucy Arnaz is a mentor of mine now, you know, and I never in my life thought I would ever meet her, and I think I would say to the 15-year-olds who want to be actors and actresses, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be hard. And it's also going to be incredibly rewarding if you stick with it. And if you decide to change your mind, that's okay. Like, that's okay. Nobody's better than anybody else. Just because, like, two 15-year-olds go out into the world and one of them decides to keep acting and wins the Tony, and one of them decides to stop acting and becomes a firefighter, neither of them are better than the other, So if you decide to keep doing it, don't get out of line. I say that a lot. Don't get out of line. Do you know what I mean by that? Don't get out of
Yeah.
line. Yeah. And if you need to get out of line, grab a friend who's going to hold your place for you. And if you decide to get out of line, that's okay. That's okay.
That's amazing. So that actually wraps up the interview. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. What's your favorite show, Timothy?
So my favorite show currently is Come From Away. Yeah.
Ugh, it's great.
Yeah, I've seen that show twice now. So
I have a classmate in that show, a dear friend who's from school is in it now,
who's
in the
your
tour.
who's your
Her
friend?
name is Kathleen Cameron.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've met her a couple of times back. My friend Andrew gave me a backstage tour, so
Wonderful. She's the best. She's hysterical too. She's
yeah,
really
she's
funny.
amazing.